This is episode 267 of the Super League Pod. It's another news and NRL heavy show. There's lots to discuss, from the Titans' fears that they can't hit the Queensland 2000 fan figures to other more serious stuff. We name check some of the rising NRL stars impressing us this weekend, and Brian as well. Find out which England international two-time grand final winner Alan just can't remember, and see if you can relate to our experiences of the loosening lockdown. Get out the breadsticks and get strapped in. It's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 267 of the Super League Pod. This week you've got myself, Mark, Wigan fan, and joining me is Alan, Bradford fan. Hi Alan.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah,
hello everybody.
I'm excited that we've got quite a bit of news to talk about. It sort of feels like especially with the stuff around the virus and that, it started with a lot because there was a lot of people bringing out statements that they were trying to figure stuff out, and then we've had a bit of a break, and now with the bit of activity down under, and now we're kind of getting to the point where Super League's ready to kind of launch its plan. So we're starting to get more news, aren't we? Now that kind of clubs are in that position. So
yeah, it's getting a bit meatier, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to go over that sort of stuff. We'll be talking a bit about James Graham looking like he's coming back to the Super League, and the quiz will be based on players returning to the Super League from the NRL. So that's one to look forward to as we go along. We've got a few fan reviews as well this week, so a few bits like that to go through on the NRL match action. So that's exciting. So I'm quite keen to get into another good chat.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Yeah. I'm just hoping the technology at this end holds up. I've managed to destroy 2 pieces of computing equipment this week, so hopefully it'll make it to the end of the recording.
Look, whenever it goes wrong anyway, no one complains anymore. I think they've got used to the fact that this is free. This is done by amateurs, and the few hundred people that listen each week quite comfortable with that knowledge. So we thank you all for being that way as well, our wonderful listeners in the SLP family. Why don't you tell our listeners about our wonderful sponsor as well?
Yep, so this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers, but only if you put SLP discount in at checkout.
Yep, so thanks for Rob's Toy Shop for their continued support. We have got a bit of a charity shout out to lead with this week. Our old friend from earlier in lockdown, Mike Webster from the Saints Community Foundation. People might remember he came on to talk about the offload, which there's still links to their programs and details in our episode blog post each week on superleaguepod.com. But Mike Webster from the Saints Community Foundation asked us to do a special charity shout out this week. He said the Steve Prescott Foundation Wembley Lockdown Challenge 2020, which is fundraising of course for the Steve Prescott Foundation, which raises money for Rugby League Cares and for the Christie in Manchester Cancer Hospital. So they're challenging fans to travel the distance from their home stadium to Wembley in the week of July the 13th to the 18th, which would have been the week before the previously scheduled Challenge Cup final that was due to take place on the 18th of July. But in that week, the week they're challenging fans to do this. So Mike, actually, he's travelling there and back from St Helens because last year hurt him so much watching the game and watching them lose that he figured he might as well go there but have no game to watch and come back. That might be more enjoyable, as it were. But he's, of course, travelling the distance virtually. People are in their own local areas. So he's starting to cover the extra distance he has to do because it's 450 odd miles or so that he's having to do. He's doing that sort of over a few weeks he's doing it, so with an average of 12 miles a day to get in inverted commas there and back on time. So you can search on Just Giving for SPF Wembley 2020. And what that'll do is you'll be able to find like tons of team members. There's over 50 team members in the fundraising team making money for this, so all doing their own individual challenges. We'll put the link in our episode blog post, but if you go to justgiving.com/team/SPF Wembley 2020, then you can make the donation. But we'll try and put the link. Well, we'll definitely put the link in the episode blog post on superleaguepod.com. And I'll try if I remember to put it in the episode description. But yeah, excellent effort from Mike. He's already sent me some details. He did a bike ride on Saturday. He did a 9-mile run today. So he's building up he's clocking up the miles in his virtual journey to London and back.
Yeah, I mean the real question is how many laps of the field behind your house is that? Because that's quite a lot.
Oh dear me, I have no idea. Matt, one of the bosses at work tried to get me into doing a half marathon this weekend, and I didn't run for a month because after I did the charity run, the next week I don't know what, maybe sitting in my office chair or whatever, I don't know. I managed to hurt my hip somehow, and so I wasn't. Every time I started to go for a run, it really hurt. So I haven't done any exercise for ages. So I said, look, I'm not in any shape to run. I've never run a half marathon before anyway. It's not happening, basically. But it just makes what Mike's doing look even more impressive, to be honest. So to Mike and everyone else who's been involved in that on behalf of the Steve Prescott Foundation, I think well done. I've chipped in some money myself. Mike sent me some pictures, like I say, to sort of show me his progress. And yeah, I mean, if anyone else has got any charity things that they want to shout out, I mean, I know everyone in the SLP family will donate wherever they can and as much as they can. We don't all have the opportunity to do so all the time, but at the same time, I think we're all appreciative of everyone's charity efforts. So if anyone is doing something for charity and they want us to give a shout out on the show, please do drop an email to superleaguepod@gmail.com and we'll make sure we give you a shout out on upcoming shows.
Definitely.
Let's move on to the news.
So, moving into the news this week, and the first story is England prop James Graham, Jammer, could return Super League from the NRL with immediate effect, his club said. The Dragons said that the former St Helens forward could be released if a replacement could be secured.
Yeah, the update looks like he's effectively told NRL 360 today that is left or leaving the Dragons, and he's got the opportunity to return home and finish his career where it all started, which obviously we take to mean St Helens. We know St Helens have some room in their squad with Luke Thompson going the other way, and them not having a sort of permanent replacement for him lined up yet, and for 2021 and beyond. And James Graham looks set to just finish this year off and finish his career off with the Saints. What do you think?
It's a curious way of doing it, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure he'll be welcomed back with open arms, even though he has, he's not the player he was when he left. He's definitely been slowing down more recently, but there is something kind of, the romantic in you likes a player going back to their hometown club, although it doesn't always work out as they hope. But hopefully it will for Jammer.
Yeah, I mean, if it was an Aussie import coming in at that stage of his career, we'd be a bit cynical about the move. But because it's someone returning home, we're a bit more. We would romanticise the move a lot more, and I think it's nice. It's nice that the Super League will get to see someone who we haven't seen regularly play in our country in the last 9 to 10 years, who, let's face it, has been one of the best forwards in the world in that time for a lot of that time. So, for us to only get to see him maybe 2 or 3 times every 2 years or so hasn't been the same. So it's a nice way to fill that gap with, okay, not a player who's at the peak of his game anymore, but still a player who should be able to contribute quite a lot to St Helens on the pitch and in the dressing room. And I think everyone should be quite happy for this short-term move to finish his career. I like to, I lean on the romantic side with these things probably.
I mean, I did pick up from the coverage over the weekend that there's a suggestion that he'd expected to go back to Australia in terms of maybe post playing, so it might be a short stay.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's only going to be till the end of this year, and then maybe he'll take up some media opportunities back down under next year. But I mean, unless he comes back and falls in love again with the Merseyside weather and can't give it up, we shall see. Other news out of St Helens back rower Zeb Taylor will return to Australia after the conclusion of the 2020 Super League season. The 35-year-old Taylor has one of the few players left in the Super League that's older than me, so it's a disappointment that he'll be leaving. Has scored 21 tries in 95 games for the Saints and also played for Parramatta Eels, Newcastle Knights and Catalan Dragons at club level.
Whilst I'm talking about coverage, there was a suggestion, or that's certainly a rumour, that Joel Thompson's going in the other direction from Manly to Saints.
Yeah, so it looks like that's fairly secure. That's secured for next year because Manly have allowed his release from the last year of his contract, which would be next year. I'm not sure if he's being allowed to. I'm not sure if they're going to agree any sort of earlier release because he's playing and starting every game for Manly, isn't he, at the moment, Thompson? So.
Well, but they need everybody they can get at the moment, frankly.
That's true.
But so yes, I don't see him leaving straight away. But yeah, I think he's a very good player and a more than adequate replacement for Taya, as good as Taya's been at times.
Yeah, I mean Taya probably maybe best remembered in the end for scoring that inventive try from the scrum play at the 2019 Grand Final, but I always remember his time at Catalans, and in his time at Catalans he was a really good offloader and had a really good foil in Morgan Escaray in that side at that time. Maybe has brought a little bit more power into his game now as he's got a bit older and a bit bigger, but still a really threatening edge presence. So he's had a top career, I would say, Zeb Taylor, and we've got to see most of the best parts of it in this country.
Yeah, definitely. Rochdale have confirmed that the takeover of the club has gone through, placing Andy Mays in control of the club. Takeover means the conversion of Rochdale Hornets RLFC Society Limited to Rochdale Hornets RLFC Limited PLC is now complete.
I mean, Andy Mays is wanting to fully own a rugby league club for some time, so we've got to congratulate him on finally getting there.
Yes, indeed.
It'll be interesting to see, obviously, because they had it was a supporters foundation that ran the club before the takeover, wasn't it? So it'll be interesting to see how much integration on the board and that sort of stuff they still have with the fan base. You'd think it'd be silly for them to completely break that up because during that time they've been a little bit yo-yo-y with the Championship and League One, but they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for those fans.
No, of course, no. They owe them a debt, at least morally, if not physically. So yeah.
Toulouse Olympique have confirmed that hooker Lloyd White has signed a contract extension keeping him in France for a further year, with an option too of staying on for the 2022 season. I mean, this is a player who could still play in Super League, probably do a job, so I think it's a good player for the Championship and potentially Super League.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Who can tell? More signing news. So Oliver Roberts has agreed terms to remain at Salford in 2021. Roberts joined the Devils on loan from Huddersfield earlier this year. The Ireland international will continue to turn out for Salford on loan terms, but remains a Giants player for this year.